Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And in today's stream, I'm going to take another small break from animating, and I'm going to be working on some character designs that I've been playing with and working on off and on. And this is actually more so to just work on the ambience of the world that I'm creating. I made a YouTube short, I want to say a few days ago, essentially going over the different character designs and the different lore themes that I'm working on and that I'm creating. I'm essentially making gods, or I guess you could call them ascended human beings, where in the lore of the world, they're primarily inspired by the 24 elders that appear in the Christian faith towards the time of Revelation, the time that the book of Revelation prophesied. So I'm making essentially these ascended human beings that each have their own like functions and jobs in the world meant to complete certain tasks. And because I am a big fan of anthropology, which is the study of different cultures, I decided to sort of broaden the horizon, and I wanted to take inspiration from different groups of people and different environments of people in the world. And I've been on the roughing stage, so I wanted to just finally take the time, take the dedicated time to just get the final line art down and get these characters ready for the next step. So, throughout this stream, what I'll be doing is talking about each of the characters and sort of their inspirations as I draw them and get them ready for coloring. One of the big things in the world's lore is how people take on physical aspects of their soul. And so for this character, he is essentially an Eastern dragon. He was human, but as he sort of ascended, his soul took on those physical aspects. So he has, like, the deer horns that you see when it comes to Eastern dragons. And I also wanted to try and give him more Asiatic features as well. He's also, in fact, a bit of an older gentleman as well. Like, I want to say he's around 40 years of age. Now, one of the fun things I like is I'm trying to distinguish pointed ears from elf ears because a lot of the characters that I'm designing, they sort of have like a point to their ears in general, like this character does. But elves are gonna be their own sort of phenotypical representation, where his ears are more just generally pointed. When it comes to characters I make that have more elf features, their ears are going to be longer. I sort of wanted to give this particular character a sort of manhwa or manga appearance. And like a lot of the samples I got had characters with like this slick back hair and sort of this handsome look to them. And that's what I wanted for this character in particular. He's very I'd say he's a pretty relaxed individual. I also want to give him sort of like these thinned eyebrows. And I'll actually have to bring this one up a little bit. But when I was in college, I studied anthropology. I could have been an anthropology minor. Like that was one of the things that were in my, I guess you could say, like early desires or like early interests is I love different cultures and I love how different cultures express and develop themselves. One of the things is that culture is sort of this living phenomenon where people and people groups are constantly changing, developing. Evolving isn't the correct word because people don't evolve. Things just shift and change, and sometimes values change as well. That ear is not good. I'm really not that good at drawing ears. I apologize. That's actually quite better to go for that more triangular approach to the ear. I like it. Where was I? Talking about different cultures. Yes. When I was in college, I studied anthropology and I just love different cultures. And I also love the way different cultures sort of develop themselves and establish themselves because it's primarily based on a group's environment. And my phone is going off. Excuse me. Now, I do think that one of the good sort of artistic renditions I'm going to go for this character, as well as just these god figures in general, is I'm probably not gonna give them pupils. They're just gonna have like, excuse me, glowing eyes. Like I feel like that would be a nice artistic rendition, sort of to show and express just how otherworldly they are. I feel like that would be very fun, a very fun design. I am so sorry. You guys are probably hearing my phone notifications. I tried to turn it on do not disturb mode because I don't want the sound going off while I'm drawing. I apologize for that. Now, I don't want to draw every single line. At least when it comes to his hair, I'm trying to go for this almost impression type look and feel. I think the horns were the hardest for me personally because while I was trying to take inspiration from Eastern dragons, in that same vein, it's like I had to almost give these horns a more geometric design just because this is a world where technological advancement and magic exists, or like supernatural powers exist. So I wanted to show that, I wanted to express that in the small details. There's definitely going to be more rigid geometrical lines. And then another hard thing was like keeping the sizing consistent because I'm definitely gonna have to shorten this antler right here and probably make it smaller. I have to bring it in alignment with the other horn. If anything, I would say that Genshin Impact was definitely an inspiration for this, as well as just the Tower of Babel in general, because I always like the theme of like the division of people as well as the division of language and expression. Because people being divided is not a bad thing. Like I believe that there is a beauty in how different groups of people express themselves and develop themselves. Like real quick, I have to make slight adjustments. So I'm actually just drawing sort of this horn and how it's meant to Now, I do like this horn right here, but I do want to bring it down a little bit. This is why rough sketches are important because it gives you the option to play with what it is you're drawing and designing so that you can notice the small details, or rather, notice sort of where you want to make your slight adjustments before you get the final product. So, this one is going to be about right here. And what I'm doing is, you guys can't see this, but I'm actually using my drawing pencil as sort of like a guiding line. So then I know the points of intersection. I feel as though that's a bit consistent. Oh, yeah, I was talking about Babel. And so, for those who don't know, it's essentially a story in the Bible about how people came together. They wanted to sort of build this tower to reach heaven. God saw it, and so he confused people's languages to where people could no longer understand each other. And sort of as time progressed, folks just fell away from each other and developed their own communities, their own people, and the Tower of Babel was abandoned. And so one of the big themes for this story is the fact that this is a world where people sort of take on their own representations for things, in the sense that it's just completely natural with like the division of language as well as the differences in a person's environment sort of denotes and explains away how and why they have certain choices, certain developments, and certain ways they represent and express themselves. I think one of the, I wouldn't necessarily call it hard, but it's definitely difficult, is being able to draw a character that is within a particular style. Because my whole thing is sometimes I forget myself, or rather, I am a bit too hard on myself because I am, in fact, a 2D animator, but I'll see like an illustrator's work and I'll almost be like upset with myself because, like, how come my skill isn't that good? When in reality, the way I draw is not necessarily dependent, but more so like geared towards certain art styles. So I have to adjust the way I draw and adjust the way I create my art to best fit what it is I'm working on. Like, I'm a 2D animator. My work isn't meant to be as detailed as an illustrator because I have to draw simple enough so that when I get to animating, it's definitely a design that can easily be rendered and easily be redrawn, not just for myself, but potentially other people as well who may eventually work with me. This hand can be a bit thinner, so I'm just going to draw this real quick. I do think it's not necessarily funny, but interesting how even while I am drawing and working on this live, I find myself comparing myself to other artists. And, like, I've read manga, I've read manhwa, and when they're drawing characters, you definitely see that they have more hard lines and sort of hard angles and points for their character designs and for the scenes that they draw. And, like, if I'm really being honest, I just want to be good enough so that I can start my own animation studio. Like, that's really all this boils down to, is I want to tell original stories and I want to be good enough so that I can get the social capital needed to eventually start an animation studio. And the hard part really has been for me is just getting my name and getting my work out there. And I hate to complain because folks didn't come here to hear my complaints, but it gets hard when you graduate from college, struggle finding a job, you do eventually find work, but it isn't even adjacent to your degree field. And then you have to just deal with so many different issues and things of that nature. And then you find yourself and you catch yourself doom scrolling. I'm not gonna lie. I've doom scrolled before. I've watched other people's content for far too long because I just feel terrible about myself and feel terrible about my situation. And it really is just feel good escapist content that doesn't really solve people's issues, but it's just self aggrandizing to make people fall into a preconceived fulfillment so that they don't have to do anything tangible about their current situation. And it really sucks because then you get comments of people saying, you know, we need our own, we need this, we need that, group economics, but no one is taking the first step. And those who want to take the first step quite literally have all of the knowledge and have all of the capability, they just don't get any support from taking the first step. And really, how I feel is sometimes I feel like I could fix a lot of issues. Either it's because I'm an artist or it's because, to an extent, I guess I feel, I don't know, blessed by God to have this sort of foresight and insight into present situations. And so, I try to help people. I try to inform people, hey, we need to be doing XYZ. But then I just get stuck in comment sections. I'll tell people ad infinitum, there's people on LinkedIn, they just need someone to network with them. There's people online. We need to reach out. People keep saying, do for self, we need our own, but nobody's going on LinkedIn. Nobody's networking. My alma mater, because I am a college graduate, there was about, I think, 8,000 to 12,000 black men and women graduated from my university. And I'll look on LinkedIn because I'm trying to find new work. I'm trying to find a job. And I see so many people unemployed, can't find work, XYZ, XYZ. But then I have but then I'll be on TikTok or I'll be on YouTube and I'll be scrolling through comments because I'm on my For You page and I'm on my feed, and I'll see people saying, like, we need our own, we need to get off this app, we need to do XYZ, ABC. But then I'm like, you got all these people who are college graduates, and you're saying do for self, we need our own, but you're not on LinkedIn. You're not saying anything about all the people who are college graduates who have the knowledge to do all these things that you magically want your people to do, but you're not taking the first step. And I personally want to take the first step, but like I said, I'm jobless right now. Like, I don't have any money. I can't pull any money together. And like, thank God for the following I am growing, but I'm still very small despite being at this whole social media thing for like 4 or 5 years now. And maybe I'm shadow banned, or maybe I don't know what it is, but it feels as though my life has gone completely to shit, and I don't know what it is God needs or wants me to do in order to get out of the situation I'm presently in. I feel like that's a fair assessment to make and a good admission to make. Because, I mean, I know it's dangerous to say this and feel this way, but sometimes I very much feel like an NPC in my own life. Like, sometimes it feels as though God Himself has no plans or desires for me. And so I'm just doomed to be an eternal failure. And despite how much I pray or how much I try, nothing will come from anything I do. And I know for a fact that just by me saying this, and even if I were to edit this into a short, there's going to be several different people saying, oh, don't feel like this. Oh, have faith. Oh, give it to Christ, give it to God. But those are the same people who would just leave a comment, but then they have no plans or desires to actually step up themselves and do any sort of business with me. Their words are just empty and hollow. And personally, I think those are the worst kind of people, because you can give a person hope, but it's not coming from a well off or righteous place. You were just trained to make people feel good for one more day, because if you didn't say anything, then the entity you believe in would judge you and condemn you when you had the opportunity to say something to help that person. But it stops at just that. And beyond that point, you have no desire to fix or alleviate a situation before something terrible or worse occurs. And that's the issue we're having as a people. You don't want people to suffer, but you yourself won't go the extra mile to alleviate suffering. And I think those are the most dangerous and worst people out there. Everybody is waiting on somebody else to do the work, but they never stopped and wondered that maybe they were supposed to do something a bit more than just give hollow speeches and hollow words. And it sucks because I'm self actualized enough to know that there's nothing I can do except draw and animate, but I see it all and I have no way to do anything myself because I don't have any resources myself. And the most I've done a lot. People have asked me, "Oh, what software do you use? How do you draw? How do you do this?" And I freely tell them. I have old videos, old tips and tricks videos of teaching people and showing people what software I use, how I draw, what I draw my inspiration from. I can say that I've been able to do what I can, even in my personal life when I have had jobs. I've put people on game. I've given people advice. I've put in a good word for people who are trying to find a job, and I tell them like, "Oh, this place is hiring. That place is hiring." I haven't looked at any resumes myself yet, but if someone were to ask me to look at their resume, I would definitely do it. If someone were to ask me for a job reference, I would certainly do it, if I knew them personally at least. But that's just the thing. I'm doing things within my power and within my ability to complete. And like I said, I'm an artist, I'm an animator. If people need like a business logo or designs for business cards, or if they need infographics, or if they need a mascot, or if they need some sort of social media art, I am here and I am available to do that. And I constantly tell people I can do that. But people get cold feet when it actually comes to standing up and tangibly doing something. And I mean, I feel like my rates would be pretty decent, like $60 for a business logo. That's actually pretty good. It just really sucks because why would God bless me with such an amazing imagination and the ability to craft and weave amazing stories and amazing worlds? Like sometimes I'll spend hours writing lore, writing stories. Sometimes I'll be just sitting by myself and then I'll have an entirely new idea for like a character or a world or like a plot point, and I'll have to write it down or draw something about it. Like I could tell 100,000 different stories, 100,000 different depictions. But then it feels like I'm just a side character in my own life, meant to have so many different ideas and hopes and desires for the future, but meant to do nothing with them. And then when I try to do something, I'll work hard, I'll craft a story, I'll craft a narrative, I'll create 20 videos in 1 month, or like I'll be consistent with my art, and then nothing comes from all the hard work I do. And then in that same vein, I take one break and I may watch a short video on YouTube, or I may watch something else, and then I have the nerve to hear some spiritual video maker talk about how people are being lazy and no one wants to work and you gotta do XYZ, acting as though there aren't people trying, and despite trying, they still get no results for their hard work. So many people in this world are fake. That's really all I can say, is that so many people in this world are fake, and people have to regurgitate the same talking points, selling hope without actually showing people how to be hopeful. But I do think that my faith and belief is a testament that despite everything I've been through and all of the failure, I'm still holding on to that one hope and desire that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow will be something better. And maybe it's just cope, but to an extent, I do feel as though, who knows, maybe someone like me is needed. That I'm meant to, I guess, give people a dosage of reality, in the sense that people like to have a rose tinted view of the world, when in reality, you just need that one person, or you need that one person's experience where shit just doesn't make any fucking sense. Life isn't sunshine and rainbows for people, and you actually have to get up and do something proactive and meaningful. But people just want to talk because it's easier to talk than actually sit down and help people. It's easier to tell a person that they're being prideful. It's easier to tell a person that they're not doing anything. It's easier to tell a person that they're not trying hard enough, when in reality, most people are trying very hard and doing as much as they can with what they have available to them. Maybe you were meant to actually get up and tangibly help the person that you're admonishing right now. But no one wants to do that. Everyone wants to talk, everyone wants to be the preacher. And eventually something's gonna happen. I mean, I don't know what. That's not my place to know what's gonna happen. Like I said, I'm self actualized enough to know that I'm not meant to be a preacher. But being an artist, I do have, I guess you could say, a special perception, maybe. I see the things that people miss, and I call out the obvious. Oh, hello. Hello, Brody Likes Bread. Welcome to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. I was just freaking rambling to myself. I was having some deep, introspective. I was having like some deep introspection. I wasn't even paying attention. I was just rambling. Anyway, this is sort of meant to be a Japanese god. He is a dragon. I sort of gave him like a kimono, and I definitely like the antlers I gave him. I need to work on the feet because the feet didn't really come out well. I'll probably just. Oh, Angel, you heard all of that. Me just rambling and spiraling. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know people were here. I was just talking to myself for like a good. It's been 49 minutes now. I think I've been talking for like a good 30 minutes straight. And yeah, I'm gonna finish this line art and then I'm gonna run through the gauntlet of the different gods I'm drawing. But essentially, this is a dragon. Well, he's meant to be a dragon. It's sort of like funny because in the whole lore of the world, people take on physical aspects of their soul. So he has dragon features, like his horns and like his big tail. And he is meant to sort of watch over commerce and just the Far East in general. Different gods have different roles and callings in this world. And I made a short about it, but essentially, them being called gods is just a colloquial term, sort of like an improper or slang term that easily or better explains what it is they actually do. And so these are essentially ascended human beings who live longer and maybe have a bit more power and energy than other characters and other people in this world. Thank you. It took me a while with this line art because I wanted to make sure I had at least some semblance of the final designs I'm going for so that I could accurately get everything down. When it comes to this character, I wanted to show that he's more of a relaxed figure. That's why he has stubble And he has, and I wanted to go for a more messy slicked back hair than just straight up slicked back. So like he's definitely a more comfortable person, especially comfortable to be around. And if you actually look, he's actually sitting on a couch. So that's like another sort of signifier that he's put together, but he's definitely relaxed in his position. But I'm sorry for rambling. It's just sometimes you just have to get the sometimes you have to just verbalize what it is you're going through and what it is you're struggling with. But I do think that maybe this is like a calling or a sign that I should just focus on my art. Like there are people who can be activists. There are people who can tell folks the obvious. Cuz me trying to educate people has only led to me getting misconstrued by the very people I'm trying to inform and help. But then, in that same vein, it's a balancing act because I do have general basic knowledge that could help and assist people. And I see people falling into the main misstep over and over and over again, and I want to help or assist in any way I can. But then, how do you balance being active while also not, while also knowing when to quit? I mean, I guess really all I can do is just lay the seed. Like, say my piece, say my point, and then if people want to take from it or learn from it, they can. But then, in that same vein, if people just choose to be ignorant, then there's nothing I can do. I just have to live my life and go about my business. Like, I can't drag someone to safety. I can't force someone to be saved that doesn't want to be saved. I can't force a person to be informed who doesn't want to be informed. But I still feel convicted to get involved and say or do something that I can. It's freaking terrible. I guess you could call it the burden of knowledge or the burden of being informed. Anyway, this is the first god. Uh, he's definitely fun. Like, this is probably the most exciting. I wouldn't say the most exciting, but it's definitely the most interesting pose I went for. I was trying to draw and design poses that fit the characters. I then have her. She's sort of like this medicine woman. I took inspiration from, like, hoodoo priestesses and how they wear all white, as well as just early church women in general who wear all white. This is actually a lion, and he's actually my favorite because he was not human before. Rather, there was a god before him, and it was a human who gave his crown to an animal. And sort of this lion acts as a liaison between humanity and the animal kingdom. Like, that's a bit of, esoteric lore for this character. What's another one? Now, this character is also fun. He is actually meant to look over the dream realm, so he stays asleep for about 80% of the time, and he's barely ever awake. Like, I wanted to draw like some wrinkles and bags under his eyes. This is another fun character. I gave him like really thick curly hair, and I also gave him horns because he's meant to be like a sheep man. That's another fun design. Now, she is a shield maiden. And so her whole thing is she's actually spends much of her time underwater, and her job is to slay demons that are in the ocean. She oftentimes gets called a mermaid, but she hates that name. Like, I gave her like these little finned ears, and she also has like this tail. And then this character right here, he's actually a Jinn, or rather, he takes on physical aspects of a Jinn, where he has like the flaming eyes, and then I also gave him some like flaming hair as well. But that's gonna be more so like a color thing. It's not really easy to depict that with just line art alone. Exactly, Angel. Helping people when they need it. Exactly. There's always something that you can do, there's always something that can be done. There's always some form or degree of tangible change that one can implement. But if I'm being honest, Angel, like, I'm just sick of people doing all this talking, but not actually standing up and doing anything. That's what I don't like, and that's what irks me and makes me upset and angry is all this talk with no tangible action. I wanted to stylize her dress a little bit because a lot of the white dresses I saw, they were rather plain. I wanted to give her sort of like this bow design as well as like just have a sort of crop top thing because I wanted to make it a bit more dynamic. So she has sort of like this cloth bow that's on her shoulder, and then some of the like fabric from the bow is trailing down to sort of make like this low hanging fabric on the side right here. And like white is meant to symbolize purity and almost this innocence, but also a spiritual power as well. And so her whole character is that she's actually meant to be purifying the land. So she is one of the gods who she spends, I want to say, 80 to almost 90% of her time like praying. So she'll be like praying, concentrating power, sort of purifying different bad or negative energies that are abound in her region and in her area. So that's why I almost went for this almost oracle design for her. And she's very graceful and elegant. And she's another character that is inspired by Louisiana Creoles. I do not make drawing clothes easy. What I do is I look at references and then I say, okay, now how do I bring these clothes like 30 or 40 years in the future? Literally the only reason why you think I'm so good is because I hate the word modernize because modernize isn't the correct description I want to use. I innovate. That's the correct word. I innovate and stylize clothes. I say, okay, what is a person or group of people's cultural garb? And then I say, okay, now let's stylize this outfit so that people can wear it as everyday attire, and let's bring those clothes like 30, 40 years in the future. That is all I do. And then by, I guess you could say, the grace of God, it ends up looking somewhat good, somewhat decent, and then I make that into a character outfit. I guess you could say Ruby was another inspiration because I did like how Monty Ohm, when he was making his characters and when he was designing his characters' outfits, his whole theme was giving people the option to, like, anyone could make a Ruby cosplay pretty cheap. Now, in the most recent seasons, that may be a bit different and that may be a bit harder to do because they definitely went with a more. Hmm, it's hard to describe Ruby. It's like not necessarily cyberpunk, but they definitely went a bit more anime with their designs in more recent seasons. But no, like for these characters, the general rule of thumb, especially if eventually I get big enough to where people in fandom want to like make their own OCs or make their own characters, the general consensus for this is take cultural garb and modify it for everyday wear. Yes, adaptation is hard to do, but I mean, I am an artist. I'm not a textilist, okay? So I look, I just do what pops into my mind, okay? I look at references, I literally go on Pinterest and I'm like, okay, show me a kimono, show me techwear, show me African garb. And then I'm like, okay, I look at it, I analyze it, and then I'm like, okay, now how would somebody retrofit these articles of clothing to where people can wear them every single day. And that's what I do. And usually it involves not necessarily downsizing, but some form of augmentation. Like, I do, in fact, use other artists for examples. Like, typically, what people do is they may shorten the length of something long. So people turn kimonos into half kimonos, and they are just like shirts or like really long shirts. Or what people do is for dresses, what they may do is something that may be a full dress, they turn into like a crop top and a long skirt. People who have like tabards or long slit shirts, they may cut it in half, or like they may shorten the length and then raise up the slit on the side of the shirt. People who it's like different things you can do. Like there's definitely a way to augment attire. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it just comes a bit more naturally for me. I mean, I'm not trying to self-aggrandize myself or anything. Like I'm just a normal man trying to make a series and trying to make something that even if everyone doesn't love it, at the very least I bring enough honor and respect to different people while also, what's the proper word? I try to give people their flowers. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. I want to give people their flowers because every single group of people is valid. And we should all be able to appreciate each other for what we've developed and what each group has done. I'm getting very poetic, I know. But sometimes I just have to speak in a poem. I speak in spirit, I don't speak in word, if that makes sense. And it's actually quite interesting because when it comes to this character, like she's wearing this crop top and skirt, but this jacket she wears is actually meant to be a jean jacket because I wanted her to have this sort of rustic aesthetic to her. And another one of her inspirations, like, while yes, she's inspired by hoodoo priestesses and just like women who wear like white clothes in general, as well as like, even though they're not hoodoo priestesses, like even in the American South, not the deep South but just the South in general, like a lot of black women, they wear white dresses as well. And it comes from like Creole women do it, like just Southern black women in general, like they wear white dresses when they go to church. And what are they called? Gullah Geechee people also wear white as well. So that's pretty much what I wanted to express, is that she's this very spiritual and beautifully spiritual woman. But I also wanted to give her a jean jacket to really just denote that sort of modern aspect of her. Like, she's the kind of girl who will go to a cafe when she has time, and she may like get a cup of coffee or just enjoy a day. Like, just enjoy a day in the street, or like a day in the city. And then she goes home and she does her work. Like, she's definitely for the more girly and even boho women. Like, that was another big aesthetic that I wanted to express in her design in particular. Is she's very she's pretty boho. She's a pretty boho esque natural character. And I also even took some inspiration from Aerith from Final Fantasy VII. That was another inspiration for her character. Like, Cetra, white materia, like that was another inspiration from that was another inspiration I drew from. I like the bow, but I also like the fact that it's a cloth bow because it gives this sort of, I guess you could call it rustic glitz, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm very happy to stream, and I think I just need to focus on myself for a while. Like, I just need to focus on myself, focus on my art, definitely get out of the whole doom scrolling thing because I need to find a way to limit a lot of sort of the escapist things that I've been doing. I mean, but it's not like I'm actively trying to escape. It's just sometimes I find myself doing different activities because I'm in between doing something else. I know it sounds silly, but like having a break and having a hobby isn't a bad thing. I guess it's really when you start overindulging in that hobby to where you're not doing anything else or to where you're trying to find an escape. And like wanting something in and of itself is not inherently bad. But I guess it could be argued that not necessarily wanting something to the point of stagnancy, but more so like acting so desperate because you want something and because you wish to fulfill something can be the cause or reason why you're not seeing or experiencing the growth that you would like to see and that you wish to seek. I mean, do I have all the answers? No. Am I still going to keep trying until I get some sort of fruit from everything that I'm doing? Yes. Because that's really all I can do. All I can do is just keep working and keep trying until something happens and something occurs. Now, I think I'm going to do the Shield Maiden next, and then I'm going to do him. Let's see here. Yep, that's her. Now, her initial design, I actually designed her to have sort of like these two spears. But as I continued to develop her, I said, you know what? I think it would actually do better if she had a shield. I also wanted to give her like this long hair and very triangular face. Now, one of her inspirations was actually, I don't know the character's name, but like when I was in late college and then after COVID hit and I had to go home, I remember like having Pluto TV on and there would just be like these random movies like called Captain Harlock, and there would be this one female character. I never figured out her name, but like she just had eyes and she had no mouth. And then I'm like, okay, you know, and as I was working on this character, sort of, that is who kept popping into my mind. So like she's going to have this angular, almost aquatic face, but she's not gonna have a mouth. So I'm thinking like it's gonna be kind of ambiguous on if this is a mask or if this is her face. Like I sort of want to confuse people in that sense. Let me actually go over to Google and find her. If I can find a character that is that was one of the inspirations for her. Oh, I think the character's name is Mimi. I can pull up an image real quick. Actually, no. It was this character. Like this character, well, both of these characters, because they kind of look the same, but like it was her and then this character, which were like the two big inspirations because I just remember like I would just have I would leave my TV on at night and just, I would wake up and then for some reason Captain Harlock would just be the movie that was playing, and then I would see these like drawn characters that were like beautiful long haired women, but they had no mouth, and I'm like, what the heck, like. But yeah, this character is another god, and so her task is cleansing the world's oceans. So she goes in, she has she does the majority of the fighting, but she does in fact have subordinates underneath her that sort of help her and act as her liaison. And she primarily spends her time in the British Isles, but she is known, in fact, to sort of break away and travel. And sometimes she will go to other areas and locations on the earth, but she's mainly in Britain. And she sort of goes in if there's any like demons or lingering monsters in the sea. She slays them all and she moves on to the next location. Hmm. I hope my stream didn't end. But yeah, just I wanted to give her like this full hair. That's sort of like this big. That's sort of like a big thing with this character is that she has full and long hair. Another fun thing with this character is that people will try to call her a mermaid, but she hates being called a mermaid because I'm sort of working with biblical lore, and while I am in fact working with and while I am working with like the canon Bible, I'm also drawing from Apocrypha as well. And so a big thing in Apocrypha is that like the women who laid with angels, they got cursed into the sea and they became like sirens and mermaids. And so this character, she has aquatic features, like she has webbed ears, and I haven't gotten to it, but she also has like this long tail, but she hates being called a mermaid. It's like people give it to her as a compliment because she's so beautiful, but she's like, no, don't call me a mermaid. Like, I hunt mermaids. Don't call me that. Her dress actually is inspired by like Renaissance dresses. She has sort of like that square chest window. But what I did was I turned it into a crop top, and then her skirt is very long, but it's also tattered. I wanted to give her like this tattered dress, tattered skirt, which pairs nicely with her really big tail. She's meant to have sort of like this elegant design. And then because this story is taking place in like the year 20, it's like 2050, 2070. So I gave her sort of like this she has one sleeve that's ruffled, and then her other arm is sleeveless, and she sort of has like this detached sleeve. because she is a fighter, but she's more so like a shield maiden. That was another big thing I drew inspiration from. Is I sort of like the shield maidens from Norse mythology as well as just general the idea of like general warrior women. It's pretty nice actually. But at the end of the day, I just really like anthropology and I just love how different groups of people develop differently. Like that's something to be honored and respected. So I'll always try to. So when I'm making these characters and drawing these stories and making these different designs, the point is to show how dynamic we can be and how we as humanity represent and present ourselves. This is actually taking quite some time. Let's see here. How long have I been streaming? Oh, I've actually been streaming for like an hour and 45 minutes. That's actually pretty good time. Pretty good timing. You know, it's actually one of the hard parts is like I have to time myself and I have to sort of figure out how much time I want to spend on a particular aspect because while I am working on character designs, like these are mainly designs for 2D animation. So I want to capture the overall theme of the character, but I don't want to spend more time than I have to, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think this is the part where I start drawing just a little bit faster because I don't want to spend too much time on this because I have other designs to do. I have other characters to whose line art I need to create. No, I think my favorite thing about this particular character in general is just how I'm going for the theme of like a sea creature. She's very Lady of the Lake, and she's very much like British Isles, or like, what's the word? Dark Ages princess inspired. Like, I'd say Elden Ring, the British Isles in general, and then like biblical sea creatures were like the big three inspirations for her character. And also, I went with her face being ambiguous. Like, I wanted people to question if she was wearing a mask or if that's her actual face. Like, that's the big theme that I was going for this character. When I make characters, I try to put them in poses that denote their character traits. Like when you look at her, it looks as though she's standing on a beach and she's like slowly walking. She's very graceful, yet at the same time, she's wearing a torn dress, showing that she's had her own difficulties. I think I'm gonna make her brunette. Yeah, I think brown hair would fit her nicely. Now, despite popular belief, I'm actually not gonna give her webbed toes. Like, I think she would just do well with having regular feet. I feel as though the almost like this Leviathan tail is good enough for her, and the webbed ears are good enough. Because there are actual characters who are actual enemy characters who are going to be legit sea creatures and sea monsters. And I do want to have that distinction because in this world, when it comes to characters that take on physical aspects of their souls, those features are mainly, I want to say, cosmetic. They're still biologically human. They're not otherworldly creatures. They're just humans that, because like spiritual energy exists, their souls take on physical aspects of what is present within their spirit. And so she got these aquatic features because she's somewhat mysterious. And then in that same vein, she as a character is also very, she has a grace to her. So that is what presented itself in her design. And just all in all, I do feel as though there's definitely a space for more fantastical designs. Like, I don't know. I kind of just want to make a movement, I guess you could say. More Christian fantasy, more biblical magic, more stories that draw on biblical themes and biblical narratives. But there's still that splash of the unnatural and the esoteric that just, there's like it denotes that there is a little bit more to our world than we know about. That's what I want. That's what I want to express in this art and in these characters I design. I think that'd definitely be more fun. Now, I didn't draw it in this character, but she's actually meant to have like a halo behind her head. It's just I can't really draw that with line art, so that's going to be something in the final design when I get to coloring. And then you have him, who's just a whole dragon. Like, these characters have been really fun for me to design and create. I'm definitely loving all of this. I think I'm going to do his line art and then chat a bit about his character. And then we can close out and you guys can go back to doing whatever it is y'all are doing. Now I just gotta find where this is. A bit of advice: make sure you are grouping your characters and your line art so then you know where everything is. Because it is so easy to get lost in whatever it is you're making or drawing or designing. It's so easy to get lost. Now, his character is actually somewhat special because he is a goat man. He has like these nice horns that come out the side of his head. He's a goat. And he actually has a brother. Now, he is a god, but his brother isn't. And there's actually a very special thing about that. Let me actually pull up the art real quick if I can find it. Yes. So this right here is Selah, and he is with one of the angelic characters. But then this dude is Selah's brother, who sort of his whole thing is like going into the woods and like he heals plants, he heals animals, he works with herbs, does different stuff like that. So they're both lambs. Like that's really the adorable thing. Is like both characters are lambs. It's just like he's slightly older and he has horns. Like these characters just like swim in my mind sometimes. And sometimes I have so many different characters. I try to figure out like, okay, these all can't be their own standalone characters. Like who has relationships with who can be somebody else's family member or sibling or niece or nephew. And that's sort of what I went with. And so what I'm going for this character is he's a very soft and gentle man. Very much, I want to say, Jesus coded as a character. He's got like full hair. He's got a mess of just woolly hair and curls. Like he's the kind of guy who will bring you tea to drink and he'll ask you how your day's going. And like despite me giving him this rustic look, I do want to give him like at least a few scars. Like right here, he sort of has like this small scar on the side of his face. And that's basically from him being in the woods a lot. Because it's not that he like got into a fight or anything. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. More like he he keeps the marks that he got from doing his job. Oh my gosh, I get to draw his ears next. Like, okay, I'm not a furry, so don't judge me. But I will say that, like, many of these characters I designed to be cute, okay? Like these characters are really cute characters. Like just he's a black man with a mess of curly hair, and then he has like these cute little sheep features. Like he has sheep ears and he has horns. And then he has sort of like fur in his ears. And I'm just enjoying drawing these characters, okay? Don't judge me. You can judge me, but don't judge me too much. Because okay, hear me out. This these characters, at least his brother, was based off of a little play on words. That's what I was going for when I designed his brother. And so then for him, I just wanted to go all in because okay, let me just pull up the picture. So the reason why I designed him is because he's a sheep druid who lives in the woods and works with herbs. Like that's his whole character. And his whole thing is that he comes into this dude's church and like they're tertiary characters, but their whole thing is being like they're meant to have this duality between their characters where Father Jovial is more of like I guess you could say structured faith and sort of organized religion, whereas Selah is more so concerned with personal relationship and I guess one could almost say alternative faith. And they're meant to be these tertiary characters that sort of provide guidance to the main cast. And Selah's whole thing is he is a little lamb of God. So that's why he has the curly hair. That's why his hair is white, and that's why his ears look like lambs. Now for his brother, I just decided to go all in and sort of enhance the whole being a lamb with him, and I decided to make him a cute black man, and that's really that's like the big thing that I wanted to push with this character is that he is a very cute and very beautiful black man, and that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to draw. That's what I wanted to create. We need more beautiful black men in this world, okay? We need more. And I will die on that hill. It's the ears, okay? I love the ears. I love the ears. Like this is the main reason why I'm giving these characters animal features is like it adds to it adds to their personality, but also it's just like it's so adorable. Okay, like don't judge me. Like sometimes I just draw things or do things because it looks adorable and I love it. I just went with the idea of a lamb and I ran with it. Like that's really all I can say. It's like I just made him a lamb. I made him a sheep with like really long hair. Like literally the dude is just all hair. And if I didn't and if I chose on a different pose for him, you would definitely see that it's certainly a more top heavy pose. Or it's definitely a more top heavy design. Okay, it's time to speed this up a little bit. Now, some of the backstory on each of the 24 elders is that they're actually survivors from the Cascade, as well as an event known as the subjugation of sin. And so these were men and women, warriors who were the primary ones that were like slaying demons, destroying fallen angels, like different stuff like that. And so after surviving, the old one, which is actually just a moniker for like God, essentially crowned these men and women, and they were tasked with essentially cleanup duty, or rather taking care of like lingering business after the primary war was completed. Because just because there was like this one really big battle doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and rainbows now. So they were tasked with like, there's a sea monster, go to this beach and slay it. Or a lot of people died, their blood is staining the land, like clean this up, cleanse it, cleanse the negative energy. Um, there's this forest that was on fire. I need you to go and replant every single tree and heal all the animals here. Various different jobs, various different objectives that needed to be completed. And so that is why these people, these 24 elders, were sort of tasked with. And so they got called gods, not because they're actually gods, but because of the powers they possess and their understanding of this new world, as well as just being so much older and stronger. They sort of got called God as sort of like this slang term. But most of them actually live and operate in solitude, and many of them don't really interact with people. But when they do, they try to keep it brief because they still have their own specific jobs and tasks to do. And so these characters are very much a play on and a meta commentary on divine purpose and a person's, I guess you could say, divine role, or rather what they were called to do. And there's even going to be this whole storyline where people from the church are actually going to attempt an assassination on one of these 24 elders because people keep calling them gods and they keep getting upset at the word gods. So they think that like these entities are trying to steal worship even though they don't gain worship at all. But it's still going to be this whole storyline about wires getting crossed and like misunderstandings happening and sort of like these just long term consequences and long term misunderstandings. And that's really what happens in our real world where people get misconstrued or people get misunderstood. And I guess, really, to an extent, it kind of all goes back to Babel, the story of Babel, and like the confusion and division of language. Like, even though there's definitely been strides made, especially in modern day, to sort of ease understanding as much as possible, there's still going to be some confusion and some misconstruing. And so we really just have to do our part to be better than we were yesterday. That's really all you can say, and that's really all that can be said, is be better than you were yesterday. Because for all this talk about discernment and acting boldly, what people often forget or don't take account of is the aspect of humility. Humility, meekness, and understanding. But what do I know? I'm just an artist giving my lackadaisical thoughts as I draw and design characters for an animated series. It's definitely fun because, I don't know, there is a vacuum, I guess you could say. There is a vacuum in faith and there is a vacuum in dynamic thought where people desire something more complex, but when complexities are shown and provided, they get misconstrued and the complexities get attacked rather than people having dynamic conversations that were meant to have happened. It's like when Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss came out. Christians immediately called it demonic, but they didn't take the time to actually self reflect. And even then, the whole reason why we're having the issues we're having now is because people want and desire complex stories and complex storytellings. And so instead of fit that niche or provide for that desire, people take everything at face value and attack each other. And I mean, I could easily just be a doomer. I could easily just say, you know what, there's no hope. Let me just give up on becoming an artist and let me focus on myself or do something else. But for the best of me, maybe I just don't know when to quit. And then again, maybe it's just a sunk cost fallacy because I spent so long getting my degree and growing in my art and working on this social media that I can't just give up. In the end, in this life of ups and downs and struggles, we are all going on our own journeys. And we have to figure out what it is we are meant to do and what it is we are called to do. I mean, because I made a short about this a while ago, but I still stand by it. Like, when I was young, people nicknamed me Preacher, and people said, oh, you're going to be big in the church. And I'm like, you know what? I could be, but I genuinely don't believe I was called to be a teacher. I wasn't called to be a prophet or a street preacher. But what I did like and what I did enjoy was complex stories. Like, when I was young, I was in fandom culture. I was all up and down fanfiction.net. Like, I was, even after high school, like, I played tabletop role playing games. I played D&D. I played a bunch of other stuff. Uh, Fell in love with Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I made a whole monotheistic homebrew world setting for my Dungeons and Dragons game. And I'm not gonna act like I had the most perfect life. Like, I've had my goods and bads, and there's some stuff I struggled with. But I don't think I was called to prophesy. I think that I, in particular, was called to tell stories, to have the Holy Spirit in my heart and in my mind, and then tell stories that have the same or very close spiritual themes that are present in the Bible. Because Jesus himself spoke in parable. God has always used symbolic dreams in order to teach or educate people or send messages. So I would like to use the same nature as that and tell stories that have biblical values and biblical principles in them that aren't one-to-one recreations and redistributions of those biblical stories. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I'm breaking concentration. I just really love the lamb ears. The ears are what's getting to me. Oh, they're so adorable. That's just another thing. We need more male cuteness, okay? Don't judge me. We need more male cuteness. I love this character. I love this character. I love this character. I love this character. I broke concentration and then I started gushing over my character design. Just that mess of curly hair and the two lamb horns. It's awesome. It's amazing. Anyway, it's been 2.5 hours, and I know you guys don't want to listen to me gush or watch me draw all day. This is the final line on our gut. So I finished 4 out of the 7 gods that I designed, and I'm going to take a little break, do some chores around the house, and then I'll get back to this. But I do have like a whole feature-length video planned where I go over the different character inspirations and stuff like that, and I'll post that on my channel. I hope you all enjoyed. I tried a new thing where I live stream to shorts as well, so people can watch that. Anyway, I'm about to go. This has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. I am a 2D animator, character designer, and concept artist. I'm working on my own show, at least until I grow and get more viewers and subscribers. For now, I'm just been doing whatever small project I can, designing characters, making short animations, posting videos online, because I at least want to get... I can make do with like 1,000. If I get 1,000 subscribers, then I will finally take that next step and actually get a team together to work on and do a pilot. That's sort of my big plan, my big hope and desire. But I do have to go because I don't like the idea of keeping people hostage in my live streams, because y'all have better things to do with your time, and I respect that. But I do stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays around noon. This has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream.